Picture this. It is Friday evening at Wembley Stadium. England are hosting Uruguay in a friendly match. Noni Madueke, 24 years old, full of energy, is tearing into the game from the first whistle. Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, is watching from the touchline with satisfaction. This is exactly the kind of performance he had been hoping for from one of Arsenal's most important attacking players. Then it happens, a collision. Madueke's knee is driven into a valgus force at high velocity. He goes down, the medical staff rush onto the pitch. Within minutes, it is clear he cannot continue. Jarrod Bowen replaces him just before half-time. And as Madueke walks through the mixed zone after the game, the image that stops every Arsenal supporter cold is right there for the world to see. A brace on his left leg. That single image tells a story that no press conference statement can soften. And for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal Football Club, it is the latest chapter in what has become the most damaging international break the club has experienced in recent memory. Because it is not just Madueke, it is not just one player, it is not even 5 or 6. The reality for Arsenal right now is that 12 players have been pulled out of international duty during this break. 12, and with the end of season running approaching, with fixtures stacking up at a brutal pace, the question every Arsenal supporter is asking is the same one Arteta himself must be confronting in his office at London Colney right now. Who exactly is going to be fit enough to play? To understand why this situation is so serious, you need to understand the timing. Arsenal face 5 matches within 15 days after this international break. 5 matches in 15 days. That kind of schedule would test a fully fit squad. It would test the depth, the fitness, the mentality of any group of players in European football. Now layer on top of that the fact that 12 of those players are currently managing injuries of varying severity. Some of those players are key starters. Some of them are the kind of players who change matches. And the first of those 5 fixtures comes on Saturday, the 4th of April, when Arsenal travel to face Southampton in the FA Cup quarter-final. A quarter-final. The FA Cup, at a point in the season where every single result carries enormous weight. If you want the kind of in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines, if you want someone breaking down what these injuries actually mean for Arsenal's season, hit that subscribe button right now. Tom Arsenal Talks exists for exactly this kind of moment. Because this is not just an injury update. This is a potential turning point in Arsenal's entire campaign. And you need the full picture. The evidence suggests Arsenal are not just dealing with a bad run of luck. They are dealing with a systematic crisis across multiple positions and multiple international squads simultaneously. And how Arteta navigates the next 4 to 6 weeks will likely define how Arsenal's season is remembered. Let us go through each situation carefully and clearly, because the details matter here. The difference between a grade 1 and a grade 3 injury is the difference between 1 week and 8 weeks. And for Arsenal right now, 8 weeks means the season is effectively over before it begins again. Noni Madueke, the most urgent concern. The situation with Noni Madueke is the one that requires the most immediate attention. The collision during the England versus Uruguay match on Friday the 27th of March was not a standard knock. An injury analyst who reviewed the footage described the moment in specific clinical terms. The concern, according to this analyst, was not primarily the initial contact from the Uruguay player. It was the landing. The way Madueke's knee was driven into valgus force at high velocity is what triggered the alarm. The presence of a knee brace worn as Madueke left Wembley Stadium is a significant detail. The analyst noted that a knee brace is typically used when instability is present in the joint. That is not a minor detail to be dismissed. That is a clinical signal. The most likely diagnosis, based on this assessment, is an MCL injury. That stands for medial collateral ligament. And the severity of an MCL injury can vary enormously. A grade 1 MCL injury would mean a recovery window of 1 to 3 weeks. That is the best case scenario. That would potentially allow Madueke to return within this difficult run of fixtures. A grade 2 MCL injury carries a recovery time of 4 to 6 weeks. That rules him out of a significant portion of the remaining season. And a grade 3 MCL injury means 8 weeks or more. That is the worst case. That is the scenario no one at Arsenal wants to think about. Other possible diagnoses were also raised. A bony contusion or a lower grade PCL injury were mentioned as possibilities that would typically allow for a quicker recovery. But the analyst was clear. The most probable diagnosis, based on the visual evidence and the mechanism of the injury, is an MCL issue. What makes this particularly painful is that Madueke had already missed 15 matches earlier this season due to a knee problem. He had fought his way back. He was fit, sharp, and making an impact. Thomas Tuchel himself said Madueke had been a difference maker in the Uruguay match. He described the winger as full of energy and ready to go. He said Arsenal's number could have been a key player against a Uruguay side that relies on 1-versus-1 situations out wide. Instead, Tuchel was left telling reporters he was very sad and upset. And Arsenal are left waiting on medical assessments from their own staff before any confirmed return date can be established. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka confirmed absences from England duty. The situation with Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka adds another layer of anxiety to this picture. Both players had been managed carefully by England. They did not travel with the initial group at the start of the international break. Instead, they joined Thomas Tuchel's squad on Friday, along with 9 other players, in what was described as a carefully managed approach. Within a day, both were sent back to Arsenal for medical assessment. The Football Association confirmed the departures in a formal statement. The rest of the group that joined at the same time included Dean Henderson, Nico O'Reilly, Ezri Konsa, Mark Gahey, Dan Burn, Elliot Anderson, Morgan Rogers, Anthony Gordon, and Harry Kane. But it was Rice and Saka whose departures sent immediate shockwaves through the Arsenal fan base. At this stage, the severity of any injuries for either player remains unclear. No confirmed diagnosis has been shared. Both are being assessed by Arsenal's medical staff. The potential return date for both players is listed as unknown. For a club that depends so heavily on the contributions of Rice in midfield and Saka in attack, those two words, unknown return date, carry enormous weight. If either player is ruled out for more than a handful of days, the implications for that 5-match, 15-day fixture schedule are significant. Martin Zubimendi, the latest blow. If Arsenal supporters thought the situation could not get more complicated, then the news around Martin Zubimendi arrived to prove otherwise. Zubimendi, the Spanish midfielder, played 13 minutes of Spain's friendly against Serbia on Friday before experiencing discomfort in his right knee. He is now withdrawn from the Spain squad entirely. The Royal Spanish Football Federation issued a formal statement confirming the situation. The statement was direct and offered no room for optimism. The decision was taken to avoid any further risk and to protect the player's health. Arsenal's medical staff were informed. Zubimendi is 27 years old and was signed by Arsenal to bring control, composure and intelligence to the midfield. The fact that he is now nursing a knee complaint at such a critical point in the season, even if the extent of the issue remains unclear, is another genuine concern for Arteta. The potential return date for Zubimendi is also listed simply as unknown. Piero Hincapie, another defender down. The injury list does not stop there. Piero Hincapie, the Arsenal defender featured for Ecuador in their draw with Morocco on Friday evening. He was replaced in the final quarter of an hour of that match. Shortly after, he withdrew from Ecuador's squad ahead of their upcoming clash against the Netherlands. The 24-year-old has returned to Arsenal for assessment. The extent of his injury has not been officially confirmed. His potential return date remains unknown. But the fact that he left the pitch before the end of a friendly match and then immediately pulled out of the following fixture is a clear indicator the club felt it was not worth taking any further risks with him. Leandro Trossard, hip injury and Belgian FA statement. Leandro Trossard pulled out of the Belgium squad for their international fixtures against the United States and Mexico due to a hip injury. The Belgian Football Association issued a formal statement confirming that the decision was made to allow Trossard to continue his rehabilitation under optimal conditions. There is no confirmed return date for Trossard at this stage. His absence from the Belgian squad suggests the hip issue is serious enough to require focused rehabilitation rather than match involvement. For a squad already stretched across multiple positions, losing Trossard from the attacking options adds further pressure on whoever Arteta is able to call upon. Eberechi Eze, a 4 to 6 week timeline. The situation with Eberechi Eze is one of the clearest in terms of the expected timeline, and it is not an encouraging one. Eze sustained a calf injury during Arsenal's Champions League victory over Bayer Leverkusen earlier in March. He subsequently missed the Carabao Cup final as a result of that injury. He has also withdrawn from the England squad for this international break. Further assessment is ongoing, but the information available right now suggests that Eze could be unavailable for approximately 4 to 6 weeks. That is not a short-term absence. That is the kind of time frame that covers the bulk of the crucial end-of-season run-in. The implications are real and direct. Arsenal face 5 matches in 15 days after the break. Eze is very likely to miss all or most of those games, in a period where squad rotation is not just preferable but essential to manage player fatigue and prevent further injuries. Having Eze unavailable removes one of the key names Arteta would rely on to share the attacking burden. The potential return date is estimated as late April or early May. William Saliba, ankle problem but signs of hope. There is at least one situation where the picture is slightly more encouraging, relatively speaking. William Saliba withdrew from the France squad for their fixtures against Brazil and Croatia due to recurring pain in his left ankle. The injury was sustained during the Carabao Cup final. The French Football Federation confirmed that Saliba required treatment and a minimum rest period of 10 days. That 10-day window is significant. It suggests that if France's assessment proves accurate, Saliba could potentially be available for Arsenal's FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton on Saturday, the 4th of April. That is not a guarantee, it is a possibility. And in the current climate of cascading injury news, even the possibility of Saliba returning for that fixture is something Arsenal supporters will hold on to tightly. A fully fit Saliba at centre-back is a completely different proposition to a makeshift defensive line trying to navigate a knockout tie without him. The potential return date for Saliba is listed as Saturday, the 4th of April, against Southampton in the FA Cup. Martin Odegaard, still uncertain after weeks out. Martin Odegaard has now been absent for approximately 1 month. He missed the Carabao Cup final due to a knee injury. He did not link up with Norway for this international break. As things stand, doubt persists over whether he will be fit in time for the Southampton FA Cup tie. No confirmed return date has been established. The situation remains under assessment. For a player who functions as Arsenal's creative heartbeat, who orchestrates the attacking play and sets the tempo of the team's football, the absence of Odegaard cannot simply be absorbed without cost. His potential return date is listed as unknown. Gabriel Magalhaes, knee scan results add to concern. Gabriel Magalhaes, the Brazilian centre-back, withdrew from Brazil's squad for their friendlies against France and Croatia due to pain in his right knee. The Brazilian Football Federation released a formal statement confirming the situation. What makes this particularly concerning is that scan results have identified an injury to the 28-year-old. The phrasing here is important. It is not simply a knock that needs rest. Scan results have confirmed something structural enough to warrant a formal statement and a withdrawal from international duty. The potential return date for Gabriel is listed as unknown. Losing both of Arsenal's first-choice centre-backs, Saliba and Gabriel, at the same time would be catastrophic for the defensive structure Arteta has built. Even if Saliba returns for the Southampton match, Gabriel's situation appears more open-ended and more worrying. Duran Timber, withdrawn but potentially returning. Duran Timber picked up an injury during Arsenal's win over Everton earlier in the month. He has not featured since that match. The Netherlands squad withdrew Timber from their international fixtures against Norway and Ecuador, with the Dutch Football Association confirming that Timber had not yet sufficiently recovered from his injury. Before the international break, Arteta confirmed the fullback would be assessed after the club fixture hiatus ended. The potential return date for Timber is also listed as Saturday, the 4th of April, against Southampton in the FA Cup. Again, this is a possibility rather than a certainty. But like Saliba, any chance of Timber returning for that quarter-final fixture would represent meaningful relief for a squad under serious strain. Mikel Merino, the hardest news. And then there is Mikel Merino. The versatile Spanish midfielder was spotted at Wembley recently on crutches and wearing a protective boot. The situation with Merino is the most conclusive of all the injury updates, and unfortunately, it is the most final. It now appears that Merino's involvement with Arsenal this season is over. He is not expected to return to club football before the end of the campaign. The club is taking a cautious approach to his recovery, and no return to first-team action is anticipated in the weeks ahead. There is some longer-term optimism. It is believed that Merino should be fit enough to represent Spain at this summer's World Cup. But for Arsenal's immediate needs, for the title race, for the cup runs, for the congested end-of-season schedule, Merino is unavailable. His potential return date is listed as next season. The bigger picture, what this all means for Arsenal. When you step back and look at this full list, the scale of what Arteta is dealing with becomes genuinely staggering. 12 players across goalkeeping, defence, midfield and attack. Injuries that range from a potential few days of rest to season-ending absences. The evidence suggests this is not a situation that can be managed through minor tactical adjustments. It requires a complete rethinking of the squad structure, the rotation plan, and the recovery schedule for the players who remain fit. Arsenal's next competitive fixture is the FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton on Saturday, the 4th of April. After that, 5 matches in 15 days. The questions pile up fast. Who starts in central defence if Gabriel is not fit? Who provides creative control in midfield? If Odegaard is still absent, who covers the wide attacking positions if Madueke, Saka, Eze and Trossard are all unavailable? Who controls the midfield press if Rice is out and Zubimendi is managing a knee concern? These are not hypothetical questions. These are the real decisions Arteta will be forced to make in the coming days. And the answers will determine whether Arsenal can sustain any meaningful challenge across the competitions that remain. The situation is clear, even if the individual timelines are not. Arsenal are heading into the most demanding stretch of their season in a state of significant physical depletion. The international break, which was supposed to offer recovery time and preparation time, has instead delivered blow after blow. 12 players, 1 international break, 5 matches in 15 days waiting on the other side of it. What is clear is that Arteta's ability to manage this crisis, to identify the players who are fit, to construct a coherent game plan from a depleted group, and to keep the squad mentally focused despite everything falling apart around them, will define his reputation as a manager as much as any tactical decision he makes on a match day. The coming weeks will tell us a great deal about this Arsenal squad. Not just what they are capable of when everything is going right, but what they are made of when everything is going wrong. That is the real test, and it starts on Saturday, the 4th of April in Southampton. Thank you for watching Tom Arsenal Talks. If this kind of analysis is what you are looking for, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Every video goes deep, every video stays accurate, and every video is made for the genuine Arsenal supporter who wants more than just headlines. See you in the next one.